So, this is my fucking 50 billionth time recording this, but I finally got it because I finally got everything set up. I don't know how to do this. It's been so long. I'm shit at it. But essentially, uh, this is weird because I have a bunch of other videos on my channel, but there's like two like year-long gaps where I just stopped. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but it's whatever. This time I hope to just kind of be, I guess, semi-consistent. At least do like weekly fucking prediction videos and then have like a video where I break down everything what happened like immediately after, but is what it is. I kind of just hope to have a better time with YouTube and hopefully actually kind of grow a community somewhat out of this. But I'm going to be starting off coming back with my UFC hot takes. Let's just get right into it, brother. Let's just get right into it. Carlos Prates would beat Ian Gary in a rematch. I'm going to try and keep this video short, under 30 minutes. Hopefully 20 minutes, ideally, between 15 to 20 minutes. So, I think Carlos Prates would beat Ian Gary in a rematch. I think if you just kind of look at how Carlos Prates has been doing recently, he looks vastly improved. I think he's kind of fixed the issue of him being more of plotty before he fought Ian Gary. He's a lot more floaty now. He showed that against Jeff Neal. He moves better on the back foot. He showed that against JDM. He seemed to have maybe improved in the grappling a bit. Maybe Leon Edwards is actually just a way better grappler than we thought, but he does seem improved on the feet. He's lethal. He's dangerous. He's a very well-rounded striker. He's got nasty. I think he's vastly improved his ability to use more than just his hands, because it feels like in his first four fights it was kind of just he would use his knees and his hands, but he wouldn't really use anything else. He wouldn't really use his kicks too much. He wouldn't really use his elbows. But since that fight, it seems he's using his elbows and his kicks really well. He's mixing up the targets to all levels, and he seems a lot more physically improved. He's got a granite chin. He showed that against JDM where he took bombs off of him. And I think against Ian Gary in a rematch, Ian Gary's kind of pea-headed. Can definitely get rocked by shots. I mean, Shavkat was landing on him. I think Carlos Prates would comfortably beat Ian Gary in a rematch. That's my opinion, though. There is the chance that Ian Gary just goes out there and schools him again, and maybe Ian Gary is just the go to the fucking sport. But I truly think that Carlos Prates would beat Ian Gary in a rematch, and I think the Ian Gary loss he had the first time was exactly what he needed to really level up and truly find himself. I mean, he's like a modern day Anderson Silva with more tools in his bag. So that's what I think. More tools in a striking arsenal, I mean. But that's my opinion. So uh, there's probably going to be a lot of people who disagree with that. I think a lot of people who ride with Ian Gary and think and fuck with him and meat ride a little, but I think at this point it's completely fair, especially how he's looked against Carlos Prates. But I truly think that Prates would beat Ian Gary in a rematch. I don't think we're going to get that rematch yet. I think, if anything, it's going to be Carlos Prates and Ian Gary both sitting out for title shots at this point, because I think Ian Gary's probably going to fight Islam like anywhere from June to August. And then after that, Prates is probably going to fight him either like November or December in MSG or end of the year, or like January first card of 2027. That's probably what it's going to be. Prates is probably not going to fight for a while after this. So you guys need to enjoy the Prates we got now, destroying JDM. He fucking killed him. He violated him. But incredibly impressive, and I think he would beat Ian Gary in a rematch. Moving on. My glorious sweet king, my Pookie Bear, Joshua Van. I think Joshua Van is going to beat Pantoja and go on to become the greatest flyweight of all time. Now, the reason I believe this is because I mean we've seen his striking. I think a lot of people hold the Charles Johnson loss against him. Like Charles Johnson doesn't just knock out and fucking destroy any flyweight prospect who exists. I mean Charles Johnson did to Azat Maxim, who was 15-0, undefeated Kazakh, who's turned out to be very overrated. But he fucking went out there, beat him on like 2 weeks' notice, almost submitted him. Yeah, he was 50 and did that. Then he went on, he fucking schooled Jake Hadley, comfortably beat Jake Hadley. He then went on to, he fought Joshua Van after that, knocked out Joshua Van, then beat Sumu Dwerji, not lost to Temirov, but then knocked out Lerner Kavanaugh. And if we look at a lot of those wins, so Maxim and Hadley, you know, not that good, but Van became champ. Sumu Dwerji on a 3-fight win streak now, looking to fight Alex Perez. If he beats Alex Perez, I mean, he's going to be higher ranked than Johnson. Uh, who else? Loner Kavanaugh beat Brandon Moreno on short notice, is now top 6 in flyweight. All of his wins are aging incredibly well. Johnson's a great fighter with great wins. So that's my opinion. And then Johnson recently beat Bruno Silva. But I mean, Van beat Bruno Silva better, so. But I think people hold the Johnson loss against him as if Johnson's not a really good fighter and a really tricky style for a lot of fighters. I mean, I think Alex Perez knocked him out, but Alex Perez just fucking fights balls to the wall at this point because he's lost so much time in his career due to injuries. But I think my reason for picking Joshua Van is I think we've seen a lot of these flyweights now shoot on Joshua Van, and Joshua Van has shown really good defensive grappling. I mean, against Tyra, he was able to escape from these bad positions and, you know, get back to his feet and also stuff takedowns. He got mounted by Tyra multiple times, but he was able to just buck and move and keep squirming and get butterfly hooks. And then just at one point, he literally just pushed Tyra off of mount, almost got put in a triangle, but then he just pulled his head out. But just pulled his head and arm out and just went back to whooping ass on the feet. And I think Pantoja is not going to have the same, like Tyra's a big, long flyweight who's able to get his hands locked together under these takedowns because his arms are just so much longer. But I think Pantoja just being shorter and stockier, closer to a Van build, I think that's going to play into helping Van stuff takedowns. And I think it's going to help Van be able to do better on the feet. Now, I think Pantoja is going to pose some issues with, his grappling is obviously good, and he's going to work against the cage more than Tyra would. And he can climb on the back really well from that fence position. We saw him do it to Alex Perez. But we've also seen that Pantoja has really good calf kicks, which Van struggled with. Tyra had some success with the calf kick, but I still think that Van is gonna, with pace, pressure, and his work to the body, is gonna slow down Pantoja, and eventually I think he's probably gonna have a 10-8 round in the fifth, but he's either gonna finish Pantoja in the fifth or he's gonna comfortably win a decision. And against anyone else in flyweight, I mean, I think a couple of other guys, some of them that I mentioned, like Loner Kavanaugh. I mean, you also got guys like Horiguchi and Manel Cap, who all have like really nasty leg kicks. I think Joshua Van really needs to work on his leg kick defense fast because he's got a lot of guys coming who are going to be chopping away at that leg. So he needs to work on that leg kick defense now, or they're going to chew up that leg, and he's going to be in a world of hurting. But until then, I think he can fix that, and if he does, I think he's going to have a lot of success against these guys. And I think against Manel Cap, I think he'll win a decision, but I do think Manel Cap could hurt him, probably drop him in a moment. I think he could probably drop Manel Cap in a moment. I think he would be able to drop Manel Cap. I think Joshua Van has underrated power. I think people have seen him, land this mass volume of strikes and just think, oh man, he doesn't have any power. But I think it's kind of almost like similar to Kevin Vallejos, where Vallejos, we've seen him earlier in his career. I mean, even against Cam Teague, he was kind of like landing this mass volume, and it was like a volume TKO in the first round. but he was more of a volume-based guy. But I mean, against Josh Emmett, he's dropping him with a left hook bad in the first round. I mean, he's landing this overhand right on Sung Woo Choi, putting him out in the first round. And now we've started to see Van more and more drop people. Whereas opposed to early in his career, when he was, 20 and 21, compared to now being 24, going on 25. In those couple of years, it seems he's kind of developed like, you know, that man strength. Where before he was strong, he had that youthful strength, but now he has that youthful man strength, and he has that pop in his shot and his sting now. And we're really starting to see that against Royval. He's dropping Royval, and Tyra, he's dropping Tyra bad in that second round. He's dropping Bruno Silva in the first round with a combination. So I think he'll be able to drop Cap. And Horiguchi and Leonard Kavanaugh, I think two guys who don't grapple too. I mean, Horiguchi does, so I won't say that. But two guys who don't grapple as much as someone like Pantoja or Tyra, I think they're gonna find. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns of a lot of them way easier, and I think if he can, you know, develop better calf kick defense, he'll find a lot better success, and he'll be able to pretty easily outpace and pressure them because I think he has a physicality advantage over both of them. He's bigger than both of them. Both of them are 5'4". Van's like 5'5". He's taller than both of them, and I think that's gonna help him. So that's my opinion and take on it. But moving forward, current Paulo Costa beats Khamzat Chimaev, Adesanya, Whitaker, Vittori, and Strickland. Now I think there's some nuance to it, but I think if we look at Paulo Costa now, first of all, let's go through Khamzat. Paulo Costa's big, he's strong, he's physical. He's known for having very good takedown defense. We've seen him against guys like Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold. Pretty much all of his fights in the UFC, he's shown really good takedown defense. Vittori got him down a couple of times, but that was fat chud Paulo Costa, so we don't count that. He doesn't really get taken down. I mean, he has a 6 brawl. So, Johnny Hendricks. People don't know Johnny Hendricks is a wrestler. Then again, it was the ghost of Johnny Hendricks, but still Johnny Hendricks. He was shooting on it. Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa just hard sprawls, fucking boom. So I think Chimaev would probably have the same. Probably, I think a little bit. Have to work a little bit harder than he did against Strickland in the first round. But I think with the body kicks and the leg kicks of Costa, he would find a good bit of success against Chimaev. Adesanya, I think he would probably beat current day Adesanya. Maybe not prime Adesanya, but I think he would have a good chance. Way better chance than he did before beating prime Adesanya. Whitaker, I think he would beat current day Whitaker, and I think he would beat the 2024 version of Whitaker that he fought then. I think he would probably finish that version of Whitaker and finish this version of Whitaker too. I think he's well improved. He's a lot more. He's patient, yet he's always doing something and causing damage at all points. I think this version of Costa clearly beats the version of Vittori he fought and the version of Vittori now. I mean, come on, let's be real. I think he would comfortably beat maybe Strickland. I'm not gonna say comfortably beat Strickland because no one can comfortably beat Strickland except DDP in the rematch. But I think he would do a lot better against Strickland, and he would probably make it very close and competitive. And I think it all comes down to his mixing up of targets with his kicks and his body work now. And he's a lot better with that. So I think now Costa, with how improved he is, I think he'll find a lot more success against a lot of these guys, and I think he would beat a lot of these guys. That's my opinion. Oh, sorry, I had to click the arrow key. Ethan Ewing! Oh my god, the Professor Finesser. This guy is the fucking man. I love this guy. This guy's my bantamweight Joshua Van at this point. I think Ethan Ewing is going to be top 5. I think he'll beat Farid Basharat. And I think he would beat Song Yudong right now. Now, let me take it one by one. I think we've seen from Ethan Ewing, after beating Wellmaker and Estevam, 2 undefeated guys who are really good. First of all, he showed 2 guys who undefeated and completely different styles. Wellmaker, fast, athletic, powerful striker. Big hooks, good timing. Ethan Ewing outclassed him, comfortably outboxed him to a decision. Rafael Estevam, flyweight moving up, but probably about the same size as Wellmaker, I'd assume. Grapple heavy, strong. I mean, he was able to pretty much ragdoll Charles Johnson for the first 2 rounds of their fight. He he took down and controlled Jesus Aguilar. Same against Jesus Aguilar, and went the same way as the Charles Johnson fight. Against Felipe Boons, he was able to, just clearly beat him, control him, take him down at will. And when he fought Ethan Ewing, Ewing just stuffed the takedowns and was slipping and moving against all of his punches and clearly beat him. And didn't clearly beat him. He finished him, battered him, and that's kind of the same thing that happened against Wellmaker. He was able to just slip and move against all of his shots and do that. And I think, you put him against Charles Jourdain, I think he'd beat Charles Jourdain. If you put him against Marlon Vera, school Marlon Vera. Vera wouldn't even have his mythical 3rd round moments. You put him against Ayman Zahabi, I think he'd probably finish Ayman Zahabi. And that's my thing. That's my opinion. I think he'll beat Farid Basharat, because if you look at someone like Basharat, look at him. He's very frail looking, skinny. He was getting taken down by John Matsumoto. I think Ethan Ewing would smoke John Matsumoto. I think he'd clearly beat him. Basharat has no sting on his shots. He has no submission threat. I think Ethan Ewing, with how dangerous he is on the feet and his movement and his pace that he puts, I think he would very comfortably beat Basharat, and I think he'd probably finish him, and I think he'd probably knock him out. Basharat, he's good. He's got tools in his bag. Not a bad fighter, but he just doesn't really have he's not very imposing, and he doesn't really have any threats anywhere really that make me think, oh, Ethan Yu's got to watch out. And then for Song Yadong, I think him and Song Yadong are very similar. Fire hydrant head, shorter, stockier, powerful, pretty well rounded. I think the difference is Song Yadong doesn't really move his head. Doesn't really move his feet all that much. Very stationary. Big, throws these big looping shots, hoping to find a big movement. Whereas Ethan Ewing takes his time. He's popping that jab. He's making reads, figuring out what you're going to throw off of what. Moving his head very well. And, that could probably lead him into a Song Yadong uppercut. We saw against Estevam. Estevam had the one moment where he was able to time an uppercut left hook on Ethan Ewing. But then Ethan Ewing realized he was able to to feint the level change down to draw it out and then fire off of that. So Ethan Ewing's able to capitalize off of his own bad habits and get you to throw something off of that and find his own openings. So I think he moves better than Song Yadong, and he moves his head a lot better. He moves his head super well. he has great head movement, and if you're making someone miss those punches to the head that much while having that big of a head, you have fucking great head movement. So I think he would beat Song Yadong by decision comfortably, just outboxing him, just moving better than him, moving his head better, angling out better, probably chopping to the leg, body shots better, Song Yadong doesn't really work. Despite Song Yadong being a compact power puncher, he doesn't throw to the body that much, which upsets me, because if he did, he could probably find a lot of success. But yeah, that's my opinion. I think Ethan Ewing would probably do as well as Peter Yan did against Song Yadong. Maybe not have as clean of a performance as Peter Yan did, but definitely beat him the same way. Probably rounds 2 and 3. Maybe he even takes round 1. But that's my take. And then finally, oh, I don't know. That's fucking weird. But JDM is a better technical boxer than Dustin Poirier. Arguably the best technical boxer in the UFC. JDM is. He just got unlucky facing the arguable GOAT of the sport and the most lethal striker in welterweight history. Now, back in the beginning of the video, I'm not going to go over the Carlos Prates part because I already gave my opinion on why I think he's lethal as fuck. I would say he's probably the most lethal in welterweight history. Definitely the most dangerous striker in welterweight history. I think if you name any striker in welterweight history, I think put them in a striking match one-on-one against Prates would knock him out. That would be my take. Current Prates would knock them out against any version prime of your favorite striker in welterweight. I think Prates knocks them out. Starting off with JD, I think he's better than Poirier technically. I think Poirier. First of all, I think JDM technically, if you look at the way he moves his head really well, and I know he didn't against Prates, but I think he was a little more stuck in the mud because Prates was chopping his legs, so it was hard for him to like when you're moving your head and you're slipping punches, you're like leaning off to a side and you're leaning real heavy on one leg when you're slipping a punch. So it was a little hard for him to, slip a punch whenever his legs are damaged, and it's hard for him to really like lean more pressure onto one side because that leg is hurting. So he didn't look like it, but against Kevin Holland, he was moving his head really well, parrying. Did it against Bilal Muhammad. He moves his head super well. Burns, he was moving his head well against. He moves his head really well. He has really good angles and moves his feet really well. Good combinations. I mean, we saw that against Bilal Muhammad. He stepped back into southpaw, hit him with a two, and hit him with a 2-1. Step back into another two off the angle. So he's got really good angles, whereas I think a lot of these other boxers like Poirier in the UFC, they're more MMA heavy boxers. They carry like the wider more they carry like kind of like the wider stance, better for leg kicks, better for checking leg kicks and throwing them. And if you ask me, I think Poirier gets knocked out against JDM, prime Poirier. I think JDM would beat a prime Poirier in a box in the UFC. I think he would probably knock him out. And I think people don't appreciate how good of a boxer he is and how good of a striker he is just because of the last two performances. I don't people probably gonna shit on him and his abilities because Islam Makhachev held him down. So what? Islam Makhachev is the arguable go to the sport, and Prates is arguably the most is. I'm not even gonna say arguably. I think he is the most lethal striker in welterweight history, and arguably the UFC history. But I think JDM's boxing and his striking is now being incredibly underrated because he's lost to two elite fighters. And I think if you look at a lot of these guys who are in contention for best boxer in the UFC, a lot of the guys who you would put in the best boxer in the UFC, I don't think they've faced a striker as lethal as Carlos Prates. I really don't. Poirier hasn't faced anyone as dangerous or as lethal as Carlos Prates. You can say Conor McGregor, but I think I I think Prates is more. I think I think Prates right now is a more lethal striker than Conor McGregor. Now, if you want to say in terms of like slickness and technicality, Conor McGregor is probably a more technical striker, but Prates is more dangerous and more lethal. He's got more tools in his bag and he's got more one-shot power. I mean, Prates is like one-shot KOing every fighter he fights. The only person he hasn't like one-punch KO'd is JDM. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. Just let me know what you guys think. Maybe if I get enough comments, I'll make a video responding to some of your guys' opinions and maybe tell me some of your guys' hot takes. And yeah, that's it. Peace out, Girl Scouts. I can't find the stop recording button. Oh, there it is. Bye bye.